Today I'm in Okayama, home to the second most impressive castle I've ever seen, but that has nothing to do with today's video. No, today we're going to an izakaya to see how adventurous we can be. We're going to try some menu items we've never had before, and some that we've never even heard of. Our first step will be to find a popular izakaya. It's pretty easy since they're literally everywhere and are probably the most popular style of restaurant in Japan. The izakaya I chose was called Toriyoshi. It had the usual massive izakaya menu. Since this was a yakitori specialty restaurant, I decided to start with their set. It came with leek and chicken skin, breast, and liver. Everything was freshly grilled on charcoal and coated in a sweet soy sauce. A lot of yakitori restaurants brush on a thickened soy glaze, which in my opinion overpowers the meat, but here it was a very thin sauce, so you could really taste the quality and flavor of the meat. Each skewer was also perfectly charred. The liver was creamy and rich with a slight iron taste. The chicken breast was incredibly tender and moist, and the skin was crispy and a little bit chewy. The grilled onion helped balance out the richness. These were probably the best yakitori skewers I've ever eaten, and I'm going to give these a 9.8, but let's move on to something a little bit more adventurous. The next dish was some small grilled fish. These had also been charcoal grilled with some salt, and there was some lemon to squeeze on top. This is so simple, but definitely one of my favorite ways to eat fish. They were small and grilled perfectly so you could eat them whole. The best parts were definitely the crispy charred edges. These are just something I have to order when they're available. 9 out of 10 for the grilled fish. A fantastic first two dishes to start off our meal, but this is where we start to get to the really exciting dishes. I ordered something called motsu. I've had intestines before, and I've enjoyed them each time. However, it turns out motsu is actually a general word for internal organs. I thought it was just intestines. I was expecting to see something that looked like this, or maybe like this, or even like this, but this is what I ended up receiving. So naturally the first thing I did was order some sake. I could identify intestine, liver, kidney, and stomach, all of which I've had before, but there were some egg yolk looking things, and one sliver of ginger to make it look less intimidating. Shockingly, this bowl comprised entirely of mixed organs, had no unpleasant taste or odor. The small intestine had the usual chewiness associated with it, but no real distinct flavor. In fact, everything tasted kind of the same as the braising liquid, which was the classic slightly sweet soy dashi flavor. The appearance was much more extreme than the taste. I won't say it was the most delicious thing ever, but it wasn't bad at all. I'm not exactly sure what was done to prepare this, but everything had a very clean flavor. I decided to ask what the egg-looking things were. She showed me something that looked like this. So anyways, these are chicken ovaries. The flavor just tasted like egg yolk, but the texture was pretty hard and chalky. Kinda tasted like an egg-flavored eraser. As usual, liver had a pretty distinct irony flavor, but this one was also pretty creamy. This was my favorite of all the organs. Reminded me of a Japanese flavor pate. I'm actually going to give this dish a 7.9 because it was so much better tasting than it looked. I was pretty sure I wouldn't be able to eat it when it arrived. Alright, moving on to our next dish. This is taco wasabi, raw octopus coated in lots of freshly grated wasabi. It has an extremely pungent flavor and slimy texture. This dish also looked a little bit extreme. The flavor is a little bit salty and seafoody, but mostly just wasabi flavor. Cucumber gives it some nice texture contrast, as well as a fresh flavor and crunch. 8.2 out of 10 for the taco wasabi. While enjoying my bowls of mixed organs and wasabi octopus, my next dish arrived. This was a special tuna sashimi bowl. Apparently what made it special was an enormous amount of grated mountain yam, or yama-imo. It was a soup bowl with massive chunks of tuna, almost fully covered in grated mountain yam, with a quail egg, wasabi, seaweed, green onions, and soy sauce. This was basically just a giant pile of cold, slimy textures. If you've never had grated mountain yam before, it's very similar texture to okra, thick and slimy. The tuna was very fresh and soft. The flavor was actually really good. Tuna, wasabi, soy, and seaweed is a classic flavor combination. The mountain yam and egg just gave it extra creaminess. The flavor was exactly like a poke bowl, just more creamy and way more slimy. Apart from the texture, there's really nothing strange about this. In fact, the flavor was pretty mild, so I added more soy and chili. For flavor, I'll give this one an 8, but I just want to note it wasn't a very good drinking food. In fact, slimy isn't a good texture for drinking at all, and there was just so much grated yam. This portion size was so much bigger than I was expecting. This was about a half pound of tuna sashimi alone. At this point in front of me, I had a bowl of assorted organs, raw octopus, and basically slime with chunks of tuna, and was wondering why this was my meal. But I remembered it was to make this video, so please click like and subscribe so I can continue to do this. Truthfully, all three of these were pretty delicious. The only negative was the sheer amount of sliminess began to become overwhelming. But as I finished them, I decided to order a few more dishes. I ordered another house specialty, which turned out to be a version of hinepon, a food I actually just tried in Himeji. Thinly sliced chicken with ponzu sauce and onions, but this one was on top of vermicelli noodles. This was really delicious, and very refreshing after the last round of food. Rich chicken flavor with strong soy and citrus flavors from the ponzu. The onion slices made it really fresh and bright tasting, as well as giving it a crunchy texture. 9.6 for this one. Moving on to our next dish, something I've definitely never tried before, which was mantis shrimp, or shako in Japanese. Previous to this, I'd only seen mantis shrimp in videos, so I was excited to try them. They were served cold and completely covered in ponzu sauce with wakame. The first thing that surprised me was the texture. I was expecting it to be springy like shrimp, but it was more soft and kind of mushy. It really reminded me of a crawfish in terms of flavor and texture. It had a distinct crustacean flavor, whereas shrimp are pretty tasteless when boiled. In my opinion, the flavor was somewhere between crawfish, lobster, and shrimp. Mildly sweet, but definitely with some distinct crustacean flavor. These were also surprisingly cheap. It was only about $6 for 3 pieces. They're always pretty expensive when I see them being eaten in videos. This was a delicious cold seafood preparation. Literally any shellfish would taste incredible like this. 8.2 out of 10 for the mantis shrimp. That round was also pretty delicious, but I saved the most extreme food item for last. One so insane my family and friends would never believe I paid and ate this at a restaurant if I didn't have video proof. This was chicken nuggets, something I'd never even thought about ordering in my adult life. But in all seriousness, for the past hour I had just been eating cold and mostly slimy foods, and I really just wanted something hot and crunchy. This was 100% the most satisfying chicken nugget I've ever eaten. For most people, this eating experience may not have been too enjoyable, but I had a fantastic time. And to be honest, even if I wasn't making this video, I would have ordered and eaten all of those things anyways. Every dish I tried may not have been my favorite, but I could tell they were all prepared with an extreme amount of effort and care. And after trying all of those dishes, I have to say, the best one at the yakitori specialty restaurant was unsurprisingly the yakitori. I should have ordered the skewer set last, because once I ate those, I just wanted more. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you did. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video from Okayama.